Alright, hey guys, welcome to the video. Shot this a couple times, and so things are filled in and not, so I'm not going to go back and refill other things in that I've already filled in, because some of this you should already know. For example, hopefully by the time you've made it to zoology, you know you can distinguish between a homozygous dominant, a heterozygous, and a homozygous recessive. Homozygous dominant is going to have two big letters. Heterozygous, not always, but in most cases it will. But heterozygous will have two different, and then your recessive, or two lowercase letters in this case. What you see, the physical description, purple, white, hairy, non-hairy, that's the phenotype. And so the letters themselves are the genotype. The physical description, that is the phenotype. So if you look through here, you can look and see, you've got a homozygous dominant genotype, homozygous recessive. This is heterozygous, another heterozygous, and recessive, and a dominant. So with that being said, let's look at solving a Punnett square. Hopefully you can do one of these little 4-1s super easy. I'll probably spend more time going over the dihybrids, but it says in dogs, the gene for fur color has two alleles. The dominant allele, F, codes for gray fur, and the recessive allele, little f, codes for black fur. It says the female dog is heterozygous, and then it says the male dog is homozygous recessive. Figure out what the ratio of possible phenotype and genotypes for their puppies would be by using a Punnett square. So, I think it wants us to do the male on top. Since the male is recessive, if you look back up, recessive is going to have two of the lowercase letters there. So, the dad is going to be homozygous recessive using F, little f. And it said the mom is heterozygous, or the female is heterozygous, and so that's going to be one big, one little. At that point, you're going to drag and drop, and always put the capital letter in the front. You never put a little f followed by a big. So you'll just drag and drop over until you fill your boxes. And so that's how you do a Punnett square. You combine, so each parent has two alleles. The mother in this case is big F, little f, heterozygous. And the father is recessive, so he's got two alleles. So this is two alleles for one necessarily trait. And so each parent can give one of their alleles to make a new organism, and so this is a probability. This isn't necessarily meaning they're going to have 4 offspring, but probability that there will be 4. There's a 25% chance, or there's a 50% chance here for a similarity, and there's a 50% chance here. So let's list out the possible genotypes. There were none of those. You can put 0 or 0 out of 4. 0%, that works as well. The other one you had 2 out of 4. That's 50%. And then the same thing here, 2 out of 4, or 50%. For phenotypes, we're looking at the letters here. Dominant allele, F, is going to be for gray, so there are 2 with gray. It's 2 out of 4, and then 2 out of 4 for the black. So that's how you would solve that, answering both, listing out the genotypes and the phenotypes after having solved for the Punnett square. Let you wait a minute. You can pause if you need to. The female dog has black fur, the male dog has black fur. figure out the phenotypes and genotypes by doing the Punnett square. If they don't tell you a letter, you can assume that it's probably going to be the same letter pairing as above, but in this situation they do give you what the genotypes should be. So we know it's going to be F. So we got a female dog who's got black fur, which is recessive, so that's little, and earlier the black was recessive, so male would also be little. In this case, you're probably thinking, why even solve it? You know it's going to be all the same, and you would be correct if you thought that. So you got 0 out of 4. I don't know, I just wrote a W, 0 out of 4. Or that's 100%. Black fur, there's 100% chance, or 4 out of 4. And for gray fur, you got 0 out of 4 or 0% chance. There. This is probability, so this is all percentages. Alright, we can look at a different one now. A female dog is heterozygous. Still looking at that same fur color. So a female is heterozygous. Male dog is heterozygous. So we've got, two different letters because each are heterozygous. We end up crossing those, dragging and dropping. Always put your capital first. And then, so now we've got 1 out of 4 of those, 2 out of 4, and 1 out of 4. It's 25%, 50%, and 25%. 75% are going to have gray fur, or 3 out of 4. Because anytime you see a big F, or a big letter, that's the dominant, and so it's going to be expressed in the phenotype, and so that's 3 out of 4, which is 75%, and then 1 out of 4, or 25%, will be black. So that is how you solve single trait Punnett squares. I'll do one more of those with you, and I think, I'll do one more. So it says in fruit flies, red eyes are dominant, which is, we're told that here, and white eyes are recessive. So we see the letters we're using. It says if the female fly has white eyes and the male fly has homozygous dominant red eyes, what are the possible phenotypes and genotypes? So it tells us the male fly is homozygous dominant red. And so we look at the letters, that's big E, homozygous dominant, same. It means the father is going to be, or the male, big E, homozygous, same, but dominant. The female has the recessive phenotype. Anytime you have a recessive phenotype, you have to have a recessive genotype, which means that she's going to have little e. If there was a big E involved in either one of these, she wouldn't have the recessive phenotype. And so you're going to have both little letters here to get that white-eyed appearance. So then if we cross the two, you just bring down and over again, and they're all going to be the same, heterozygous. And so you get 100% that are heterozygous, so 0 out of 4, 4 out of 4, 0, and then your red eyes would be 100% as well, and 0%. You can do either a fraction or percentage. I'm okay with either one. That's up to you. I'm going to skip some of these other ones that we've done practice with, and we're going to move to dihybrids. Not going to do those, but I will practice these with you, or at least do a couple. It says, in man, assume that spotted skin, big S, is dominant over non-spotted skin, little s, and that woolly hair is dominant over non-woolly hair. So with dihybrids, we're looking at 2 traits. That was in the quiz that we took last week. You gotta cross these two. So the first thing you gotta do is figure out what's gonna go on the tops and the sides. It's a little bit different because earlier we only had to worry about Beyonce and Jay-Z apparently, but no, you only had to worry about two letter spaces here. There was 4 in total. Now we've got 4 on the top, 4 on the side. That's 16 total different things here. So we're going to cross a marriage between a heterozygous spotted man. So spotted has to be with the S. So he is going to be big S, little s, and non-woolly. So it's a recessive phenotype. Remember earlier that means it has to be little to show that. So we're doing 2 traits. Don't ever cross the S's and the W's. Keep the S's together. Keep the W's together. Even in here, you want to keep the same letters together because that's how they appear on the genome. You're now going to cross that man with a heterozygous woolly-haired non-spotted woman. So since we used S first, we'll use S first again. So she's non-spotted, which is the recessive phenotype. So she's going to have a little. And because I used S first, I'm using S first again to keep it the same. And then she is heterozygous for woolly hair, which means she's going to be big, little. So now we're going to FOIL out these, which just means, you take the first, outer, inner, and the last. So when I do that, I'm going to take the first one of each. So I take those, and that gives me big S, little w. I then take the outer ones, fix that. So take this one and this one. That's going to give me a big S and a little W. And then the inner 2, so that'll be this one and this one. That'll be little S, little W, and then the last 2 of each. Let's go some mint green there. That S, that W. And so then we get little s, little w. Do the same thing again. Take the first of each pair, which is a little and a big, the outer 2, so little, the inner 2, it's a little big, and the last 2, which is a little w. This is what you then put on the tops and the sides of the Punnett square. So we're going to take this one, put it on top, and this one under here. This one we'll put here, and then we'll put this one down here. So let's go ahead and line those up. Big S, little w, big, little. Alright? On the sides, we'll use this other group over here. So that would be little, big, no, I messed that up. I apologize. I was looking actually at the time, not my worksheet. So that's a little, big, and then little. So the order doesn't matter. I could have mixed those up again, But to keep it how it is over here so you can see it, I wanted to do that. You can rearrange, so I could have put these two here, or this big one here and this one little one here. And all that does is that shifts for the pattern that you'll see. So then if I put the two bigs together, I know that these two rows are going to be the same and these two rows will be the same. Going this way at least, because then I would have the big W here and the big W and then the little and the little. But now it'll just alternate every one. This one, however, you'll have both your bigs here and both the littles there. So let's cross it. Remember, keep your S's and your W's together. So that's a big, little, big, little. So if we look for a pattern in these, it looks like this group right here is similar. These are going to be similar. These are going to be similar. And these are going to be similar. So you can learn to look